The protests continue in Dhaka over the death of a youth leader of the country's 2024 pro-democracy uprising. The protesters in fact vandalized the partially demolished house of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and they were also seen attempting to tear down the remaining portion of the house and setting fire to a poster of the ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Now, Sharif Usman Hadi, who was injured in an assassination attempt last week, died in a hospital in Singapore, and this followed a night of unrest. Several buildings in the capital, including those housing the country's two leading newspapers, were set on fire. Now, the first attack came on Pratham Alu, where the crowd had gone chanting slogans. The crowd vandalized the office before setting it on fire at around 12 a.m. They then vandalized the ground in the first floors of Daily Star before putting it ablaze at about 12:30 a.m. The blaze then quickly engulfed the two floors, sending a huge column of smoke into the air. And the fire service could not reach the building for some time because a crowd blocked their way. Now, the entire night shift fled to the roof to save their lives, pleading for help through phone calls and social media posts. And firefighters eventually reached the site and brought the fire under control at about 2 a.m. However, the journalists could not be brought out immediately because the crowd stormed the building after the fire was extinguished. The protesters also targeted the office of the Awami League, seeking the return of Sheikh Hasina. The House of India's deputy ambassador to Bangladesh was also surrounded by hundreds of people who were trying to demonstrate in a sit-in, but the police lobbed tear gas shells in a bid to disperse the crowd. In addition, the protesters also blocked a key highway leading from the capital and then attacked the residence of a former minister in Chittagong. And the protesters also attacked the Chaya Knot, which is a centre in Dhaka devoted to Bengali culture. Now, the interim government in a statement has urged citizens to resist all forms of mob violence committed by those that he referred to as fringe elements. The government has strongly condemned all acts of violence, intimidation, arson and destruction of properties, pointing out that this was a critical moment in the country's history. With elections planned, the interim government under Muhammad Yunus, in a message to the citizens, has said, and I quote, "We cannot and must not allow it to be derailed by those that thrive on chaos and reject peace." And WION's assistant editor for Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibil, is joining us with this report. Let's listen. So, Siddhant, this, of course, is a critical moment in Bangladesh. Tell us what is actually driving the unrest there.
Well, it's chaos, unrest and a lot of confusion. We know that since yesterday there have been protests, and those protests, as you have pointed out, led to burning of the offices of two key newspapers in the country, including Pratham Alu, which missed its print edition for the first time in 27 years. That is significant. But essentially, we know that in one of the violence a Hindu man was lynched as well. This is something that is confirmed by the interim government. And of course, they have extended condolences. But all throughout the day, WION has been speaking to Awami League leaders who have condemned it and pointed out that there could be more anarchy. And this is something that has been seen in past few months. Now Bangladesh heads to election in the month of February, and it looks like that there could be more chaos and confusion, even as the big concerns remain that the space that has been given to extremist element is cause of concern. In fact, US Embassy short while ago again issued an advisory fearing more violence, especially tomorrow when the country marks a day of mourning for Hadi, but it could be also a day where there could be concerns of increased violence. The Indian missions have come under attack as well. The Indian government earlier this week summoned the High Commissioner of Bangladesh and raised its concerns and sought security for the Indian diplomatic missions in the country.
Thank you very much, Siddhant Zibil, for joining us with all those updates. We'll, of course, come back to you as this story continues to develop. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.